My name is Jo Taranto, and I'm joined today by Chris Nielsen, the Digital Services Development Manager at Schneider Electric. And today we're talking about SCADA and Beyond, the opportunity for unified digital operations and how water businesses can harness their digital environment to enable predictive operations and efficiencies. Thanks so much for joining us today, Chris.
Oh, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Chris, Schneider Electric's mission is to be the digital partner for sustainability and efficiency. Can you tell us about what your role at Schneider Electric is and what it involves?
Yeah, so my role at Schneider is to support our industrial automation business, markets and customers to embrace the business opportunity that comes from digitisation, analytics and machine learning. In Schneider, we have an open IoT architecture called EcoStructure, and this looks at three levels of value: connected or intelligent assets and sensors, moving up into automation, control and SCADA, and then into apps, analytics and digital services. So I spend most of my time supporting our sales organisation and end users to leverage the data available from the operational technology layers to drive insights and predictive operations.
And what is it about your job that excites you, Chris?
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, working with talented team and also talented customers to solve problems that have otherwise been left unanswered, and to help our customers and team members to think differently and drive efficiency and sustainability with a national voice across our industrial segments.
It sounds like a pretty satisfying place to be. And can you tell us how digital operations are being used to maximise efficiency and sustainability with Schneider Electric?
Yeah, sure. So most of our larger process automation customers and industry in Australia have typically a traditional automation, SCADA and data historian platform. And most of those industries haven't done paradigm shifts in this space over the past 15 years. So I recently met a large water authority who operates 20 plus treatment plants. And one of the plant managers said to me, "Chris, I have no idea how my plant is performing at any given moment regarding energy usage. We get a report at the end of the month." And this actually shocked me. I was really under the assumption that the water industry and the industry had already converged, power information and process information. But this is a really good example of a challenge. I think another thing is merging power and process data is an opportunity to drive model predictive control. So where the system is more dynamic and able to self-tune outputs to inputs, which is an energy, chemical and asset utilization enabler. And then lastly, and in addition to the advanced automation and power and process, the other key opportunity in water is to help merge asset information with operational information to create predictive maintenance approach and fleet manage approach for typically a really large brownfield asset base. So there's actually lots of opportunity mentioned above based in those key challenges. And Schneider is working with the water sector on really those key issues. So converging power and process information, looking at driving a more dynamic operational model using automation, and then helping our customers leverage their data to drive that predictive maintenance approach and fleet management approach.
And so you've talked about some of the opportunities there. What role do you see digital services playing in the water sector, particularly when it comes to SCADA or operational technology and IT?
Yeah, so digital services is an enabler for taking the data and creating value out of it. And so for us, it's really turning that data into value and then being able to monetize that outside of a traditional CapEx environment. So we actually need the industry to rethink the commercial models for driving innovation that lives inside their businesses. The convergence of operational technology and information technology with water is massive. So harnessing the power of cloud computing over the operational technology layer to unlock insights is a really big opportunity. We are trying to work with the water industry to help them rethink the commercial models to do that, because it's a digital service outcome that doesn't fit very well with a traditional CapEx model. So we see it can play a big space, but we're also really trying to challenge the industry to think differently about the commercial models to deal with that value. And there are some good examples. So up in Queensland, we're working with a mid-tier water authority, and they're going down this space. And there's another water authority in New South Wales where we've managed to drive more of a partnership approach because we've already got that SCADA and automation layer there. So it's really about partnering and rethinking the commercial model.
So you mentioned a couple of barriers potentially there. What are the main benefits for an organisation to moving to this digitisation, particularly considering things like cloud and machine learning, and also for dealing with issues like legacy and cybersecurity and other risks?
Yeah, sure. I think the big opportunity for a big benefit for the water sector is really looking at asset optimization and capital planning. So much investment has gone into IT and the customer experience for water sector, which is for sure important. However, we see that like the best customer experience is actually from a low cost of water that is safe and reliable. And actually this comes from asset management best practice. So we see a big benefit in helping the water sector who has fleets of assets understand those assets better and be able to maintain them more efficiently. And also then, once you've got that information, you can then do capital planning better, which should reduce the total cost of ownership and total cost of capital across the water industry. Cyber is a massive issue. Obviously, the federal government's moving pretty strong legislation onto water authorities, especially around vulnerability management and that legislation and information management. And I think best practice needs to be shared from the larger water authorities down into the smaller regional authorities. Obviously a third tier or a smaller regional authority doesn't have the IT resources and infrastructure and budgets to deal with the same level of risk that a larger authority has. So we want to see more information sharing in that space, which is a little bit ironic given the cybersecurity. And I think as an OEM, lastly, I think as an OEM of automation and SCADA and a major partner of SCADA to the water sector, we probably need to do more and step up and step in to support our larger and smaller customers in this space. And lastly, water is obviously it's not obvious. So water is a very risk averse naturally for a good reason. It's a critical infrastructure. It's critical to enabling life. And they have a very strong engineering approach. But I think when we start talking about digitization and machine learning, there needs to be a balance between risk and reward. So yeah, massive conversation that's continuing to be had, and we're pleased to be part of some of those conversations. There's a lot in that answer.
There's a lot. It's a lot to unpack, and I guess it highlights how much of a shift needs to take place and to address these issues and to really harness the opportunity, I guess. So how do you think Australia tracks then compared to the rest of the world when it comes to this sort of cutting edge digital solutions and, for water and I guess energy management as well, right?
Yeah. So I'd say we're in the mix. Water's interesting because it's a public sector, it's publicly owned. So there isn't a great deal of competition to drive innovation. Now that's a good and a bad thing in my opinion, but I think we're probably on par with the rest of the world. In order to drive this digital twin and OT and IT convergence opportunity, that does require massive capital investment. And I think if we, again, going back to that commercial model, if we take a traditional return on investment approach, we're always going to be encumbered by that agile methodology. So I think we're probably on the right track. I get the chance to see best practice in water in Australia and a more immature practice of data analytics, but I think we're probably roughly on par. The big opportunity I think Australia is doing pretty well is embracing digital twin. So that's that really that engineering approach to bringing in the asset into operations and then understanding and unpacking the data. So I'd say we're probably a little bit more advanced on digital twin, but certainly if we don't rethink our commercial model, we're always going to be behind the eight ball with the opportunity.
Well, it's certainly a huge topic, and we've been really lucky to speak with Chris Nielsen, the Digital Services Development Manager at Schneider Electric. Thank you, Chris, for your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.